Welcome to this episode on my podcast, Unfold with Marie. Today, it really makes sense, the name of this podcast, because I want to share a bit of my personal story with you today to give you an insight and a perspective of how I'm living my life and how I'm taking the decisions that I'm taking to create the life that I have. Because the other day I was posting an Instagram post saying that I didn't get this life, I created it. And what I mean with that is that I was destined for something completely different. I come from a completely normal family with two parents working full-time jobs. I have an older brother. I went to school. I went to high school. I had a university degree. And then something happened because I traveled out in the world and I explored my own capacity of dealing with life when I dared to follow my dreams. And that just led me on and on and on to the one adventure after the other. And for each adventure, for each decision that I took, I got even more confident and even more aware of my potential and the freedom that I was able to create for myself. And by all these small decisions, I created a life of my dreams. So obviously, the dreams are changing from when I was 20 and when I was 30 and becoming a mom and now and unschooling and all that. It keeps changing all the time what I want and what I think is the best for me. And the only guideline I have for that is my intuition, is the stomach feeling or the gut feeling that is telling me, like communicating to me what is my deepest desires, what would be the best for me right now. And it's difficult for us to follow all these clues that we're getting because it includes our fear. So no matter what area we are stepping into, maybe my fear is not what does other people think of me, which is for other people, that is where the fear gets triggered. But then other steps in the process will be the ones triggering me. So it's not that the same step in the process is triggering us at the same time. It can be very triggering to even say out loud what you dream of and what you want to achieve and what you want to create for yourself. And then it could be extremely easy for you once it's set out to then take action on it. And for another person, it could be vice versa. So for me, when I sat in my apartment in Denmark, I had got a castle apartment that I don't even know how that got available to me, that I said yes to without having money to pay for it. Already there, like back then, I remember taking wild decisions that I had no idea how to go with. I just knew this was right for me. And somehow things always worked out and things always settled in step by step, as long as I checked in with myself and just made sure that I was nurturing myself, that I was giving myself the care that I needed to be able to take the right decisions again and again and again on a daily basis to keep myself as strong as possible, as protected as possible in my energy, to take these decisions that would then be the solution for what I have put myself into. For example, with this apartment, it was so crazy because I had bought a very expensive coaching program. And I remember that I said yes to this apartment and it was like way over my budget. But when I entered that castle apartment, it was down to the beach and forest in the backyard. And for me, it was just like, wow, this is out of my world. Like, this is what I dreamt of when I turned 50, you know. And then suddenly it was available right in front of me if I only dared to say yes. So of course money can buy anything, but at that point I was just like newly divorced, and I stood there with a baby on my arm, and I had no job, and I just said yes to that apartment. So I just had bought this expensive coaching course, and when I sat and I was like trying to understand the material and trying to do all the homework and stuff, I realized that this is not working out for everyone. The main coach is teaching just how he is experiencing this material, how it's working for him to incorporate these things in his life. But for me, it's different. And for my friend, it was different. And we all had to read this material in different ways to be able to incorporate it into our life and actually get the results that we wanted with these brilliant tools. So I called this coach up and I said, I have a big knowledge about the Enneagram, and I can see how this material needs the filter of the Enneagram when it's communicated how to use these tools. So why don't you hire me to be the internal coach for the people buying the program? And I can help them and guide them into understanding how they can incorporate it. And for him, it made totally sense. So he hired me, and then I got the salary so I could pay the apartment. And then suddenly everything was like, how would I know that would be a possibility? If I had said no to the apartment, maybe I wouldn't have been pressured into looking into solutions of finding a job to even come up with that idea. And I would have missed out on all of it. Or maybe if I didn't have gone with that job or that opportunity or that idea that I had, maybe another one would have come up. So the idea is that we don't always have to know all the steps, but if we focus on following what we desire and the dream that we have inside, or especially if we meet the opportunities in front of us and we can feel this connection and this aliveness inside of us, we dare to go with it regardless that we don't know how to figure it out. And I think this is what people say, like, do it before you're ready. And I don't like that at all. Do it before you're ready, for me, seems like do it before you're ready. I felt very ready to say yes to the apartment. But I think this is what they mean, like you do it before you know how to make it work. But you feel ready the moment that you recognize something inside of your core being activated. When you feel connected to your purpose, or this is in alignment with my destiny on earth. This is in alignment with the steps I need to take. This is going to bring me something that is going to make me into the person that can achieve and be aligned with my life purpose. Why I'm even here on earth. Okay, so that was a little side story. The story I want to tell is when I was sitting in that apartment and my life was extremely nice. I felt one day out of the blue that I should buy a caravan, restore it, and drive to Spain to build community. And that was a very wild thought to get. It was an idea that just popped out of the blue because I've never been camping before. And actually I wanted to buy a house and renovating it. But that didn't fall through because I was a single mom and I was self-employed and blah, blah, blah. So I couldn't buy a house. And then suddenly this idea came up and I was like, I'm more of a hotel girl, but okay, let me discover what can this bring me. And it's way more difficult in my world to say yes to something that is really working well because you want something that is brilliant than it is to just surviving. Because surviving, it feels like you don't have anything to lose. So if you're just trying to survive and you're just saying yes to things because alternatively you have nothing, there's nothing you can lose. So it's easier to say yes to it. But when you have a lot of things to lose, it's like, if this doesn't work out, then I'm going to fall like 10 steps behind suddenly. Like, I will never get this apartment again. I'll never get that job opportunity again. I will never get the network that I've built for my company now again if I leave. I'm going to destroy everything. Like I'm going to let go, not destroy maybe, but I'm going to let go of everything that I've built here because I want more. And I think that is a wild move to do. And that is something that is definitely shaking the world that we are creating around ourselves, because our survival just want like stability and don't change things, and then we know what's going on and we know how to make ourselves safe and survive. But I don't want to survive. I want to move. I want to have like more all the time. I want to have more quality of life. I want to have more of my purpose unlocked. I want to help more people. I want to inspire more. I want to be seen more. I want to be listened to more. I want to learn more. I am a curious soul as well, so I want to keep on going all the time. So I went with the idea. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's true. Even though I feel so happy here and everything is so settled and on the paper it's perfect, it's true what my soul is telling me, that there's more for me, and if I settle with this, I will never get the more. So if I want the more, I have to go with a move. And that move was telling me to buy the caravan, restore it, make it really nice, and then move to Spain. I was also feeling that I really wanted to go to Bali. I really, really wanted to. That was what I really wanted to. But that seemed too much. That seemed like too much out of my comfort zone. And one thing I've learned is don't go too much out of your comfort zone. Just go a little bit out of your comfort zone, because then your subconscious still believe that you can do it. If you go too much out of your comfort zone, it becomes very drastically dangerous, because your system no longer believes that you can actually achieve this. So the risk of failing is bigger. So I was like, okay, Bali seems to be a very big, bold move, and I don't feel ready for that. But I do feel ready for the caravan. So let me go with that. I got the caravan. I spent the whole summer renovating it. I took my son in a car, I hooked it on a car, and we went to Spain. And that itself is a whole other podcast episode. That was a wild drive. But what I want to tell you today is that I wanted community. I wanted to live with someone. I wanted to live with another mom with the same standards and the same philosophy of what's possible to give our children and ourselves at the same time, with no settling, with no compromises. I wanted to reach all my high standards in my motherhood, in my business, earning money, living healthy, everything, all my whole life wheel. I didn't want to settle for less, because that's what I felt I've done in my motherhood so far. It's like I was always the one that wanted more. I wanted more time together. I wanted more meals together. I wanted more deeper conversations. And I was tired of being the one that was wanting more. So the only focus I had when I left Denmark was I want to build a co-living community where they all want as much as me, where they all have these high standards. So I left, and the crazy thing is, it took me 2 months. From I landed, I chose the place where I felt this is the perfect place, until the person showed up. And everything in me was like, this is so right. Everything felt so right. And this is how to have the faith when we don't see the future. How could I go ahead with the faith? Like, everyone told me that I had done the stupidest move ever by leaving Denmark. When I had all these things going on, quitting my job, I had no income. I had no saving. I had nothing. I just had the caravan, and I just had my son, and I just had my vision. But I did it anyway because I had faith, because I had before proven to myself that the universe got me. God always have my back. I'm never failing. It's impossible to fail, because if I follow my God and the intuition that comes to me, it's because it's right, and then it's because I'm capable of it. And so I was this time too. And it took me so short time. So at that point, that felt completely right. And we ended up living 1.5 years together, learning so many things, having so many deep conversations, being so close. None of us could get enough of the closeness, of the deep conversations, of the talks about high standards for our children, what this world need, how we can be more given back to the nature. I really entered the whole consciousness of Mother Earth, the bigger picture, connection with the universe, connection with God, with faith. All of it just went into a higher note at that time. And then what was even more crazy was I wanted more people. I felt that I wanted more people into our co-living. So we invited another mom in. And here is something that is really it's really sensitive for me, to be honest, because there's a lot of hurt feelings, there's a lot of grief when we do these kind of changes. I felt it also in Denmark when I left Denmark regarding my family, leaving my family behind. I now then also took away a grandchild from my parents and his relations. So it's not like these choices are always easy, but they're right. And there's a big comfort in having the faith when it feels right, even though it activates a lot of crappy feelings. And what happened when this other mom came into our house was something that I couldn't control. I had to give in to my emotions, even though it would crack everything. And I felt that I should go ahead for my destiny with the new mom alone. And that was a very chaotic decision, but it felt right. And this is such a sensitive, I think there's so many people that can recognize this. Maybe you have been in this situation before. It's like, you know so clearly, your system is screaming that this is the right decision, but it's so hard to say it out loud because you know that chaos is going to break out and the storm is coming and you are the one creating the storm. So it's not only I have to deal with my own emotions and my own inner critical voice saying that I'm a bad person and I'm destroying someone else's life, and not to talk about the price it was on my child to remove him from someone that I had told him was forever and we will die together and you will be teenagers together and we'll never move away from each other, and then suddenly having to deal with his grief as well, and the disappointment and the failure feeling. And that was not easy, but I had to do it. I just knew that if I don't do it, I can't move on. I can't get to my next level if I don't follow what my intuition is telling me and have faith that all of this will make sense one day. One day it will all make sense. So I did take the decision, and I am extremely proud of how I dared to stand still in all of these emotions. In the Enneagram, I'm a type 7, and my biggest fear is to be stuck in pain. And I was stuck in pain, big time. And I was, my body was reacting. I got like super unclear skin. Like I broke out everywhere. I had cold sores on nonstop. I got sick. I was short-headed. My nervous system was super broken down and full. And it lasted for like 4 months. So we were in this situation physically for about 4 months, which was the hardest thing I've done in my life, I would actually say. But I did it. I dared to stand still. And that was the biggest accomplishment. And it moved me so much, and it stretched me and expanded me so much in my nervous system to see what I'm capable of. So it wasn't fun, and in these moments everything is just survival. Like, I was just surviving one day at a time, reminding myself the doubt was active, reminding myself this is the right decision. Don't even ask yourself if it's the right decision. You're not going back, even though that it's just fear. Like, fear is talking, it's real for you right now. Don't go back. So I hold on to my decision, even though I could not feel what was right and wrong. And I felt like a horrible person, and I felt a lot of guilt and shame and hurting other people. I felt like it was my fault, all of it. And I felt like I was destroying someone else's life by telling them that they were no longer wanted, that I didn't want to be with them. And that's not even true. It's not even true. This was even my fear and ego speaking, because how did I know if it would destroy somebody else's life? No. Of course, no one would die out of that. Everyone has their own destiny, and everyone has responsibility for being a part of choosing their destiny. So I also discovered how much I'm taking over responsibility for other people's emotions. And it was a huge learning phase for me to step back and mind my own business, set my boundaries, take my choices, stand up for it, and then stand still for the other people to have their own reactions and have their process and have their way of dealing with it. And that's not my fault. It's not something to be ashamed of. That is life. I'm expanding, I'm growing as a person, I'm learning something right now, and change is never a walk on roses. Change is always happening outside of our comfort zone. So I did choose to leave and continue with the new mom, and I then discovered on the other side the huge bright light of freedom. And what is more crazy is that this mom had previously lived in Bali. When I moved to Spain, she actually moved to try get community in Bali, but she didn't manage. And then she moved back to Denmark, and then she came to Spain to try live with us, to actually think that, Marie is probably not my type, but let's give it a month. And then to end up for her as well saying yes to continue with me, and just feeling her intuition to say yes to that as well, as much as I was giving up everything. And I think that is where everything comes to a full circle. Could we have just met from the beginning? What if I bought a ticket directly to Bali? Would we then have met there? I don't think so. I don't think either I wasn't ready or she. I think it was her not being ready to actually walk into the intensivity that I was asking for. I was asking for really closeness, and she wasn't ready for that. So I think she had to go through the house of 3 families to then choose me. And I had to learn all of the co-living and being very close to another person and hold a space. And I had to learn to be only responsible for my own emotions and step back and back into my own space before I could meet up with her and have what we then have. Is that faith? I think so. I mean, that is the craziest ever. So we moved into a house together and started our co-living life. She's then having extremely high standards and asking, is this really the best we can give our children? Or should we look for a different place on earth that has better community? And then I tell her, if I'm going anywhere, I'm going to Bali. And then she said, if I'm going anywhere, I'm going to Bali. And now we bought a one-way ticket to Bali. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Now we are going to move to Bali. 2 mothers that has been through all of these different steps to meet up, to feel so aligned, and now our core desires and dreams are crossing at the same time. This is so, I'm even getting goosebumps all over my body when I say this, because it's so magical that life is possible this way. If I didn't have faith, if I was scared of losing the apartment, I would sit in Denmark living a half life. I would sit every single day and doubt, what if I had bought that caravan? I'm even getting so emotional because when I look at my life now, it's so rich. I'm so present and I'm so proud of what I'm creating here. And if I didn't trust faith, if I didn't trust myself, and if I didn't have had the connection to myself, to trust myself, to say yes back then, I would have missed out on all of this. I would have missed out on this huge learning, or at least maybe I would have pushed it. I feel that I would have stalled and wasted my life. I would not have been able to give my son what I've been giving him the last 3 years of safe connection to his mom, to show him that there's a whole other world out there. Show him and teach him about cultures and what is important in life, and what is real connection. Because my nervous system is at ease, because I am following my heart, and because I'm doing the necessary steps to create my dream life myself. And it is not easy, but it becomes easier. Because slowly, I become more confident in my choices. I become confident that I really can manage it. And now that we have bought the tickets to Bali and we're planning our trip and everything is the exact same image of what we want to create, that is just full circle. That is full circle. And for this new chapter in Bali is gonna be my next level. I feel a huge energy towards God. I feel a huge energy towards something that is bigger than myself. I am ready to walk into my wisdom of the gift that I'm given by God to communicate His words or His energy. So it's way more energetically communication, and I feel that that's what's waiting for me in Bali. The whole connection to something way bigger than myself. That all the work I'm doing, all the therapy work that I'm doing, all the patterns I'm seeing with the Enneagram, how my words are changing people's lives, is not something that comes from my brain. It's something that is channeled. It's something that's channeled through me from God or from the universe or from the energy of the person sitting across of me. I'm just a mirror. I'm just a gateway. I'm just a communication portal. And that is going to be major. That is going to be a work of humbleness in a different way than me sitting and sharing a system that I have understood in my brain. So that's very exciting, and I can't wait. And I think the thing I just want to make clear or point out in this whole story is to have faith that we don't know. We don't know, even if we do plan And even if we think that we know what's going on, we don't know. We never know what will happen in a minute. Our whole life can change in a minute. God forbid that something happens to a person that we love, and in an hour, our whole life will change. Maybe it's for us. So it's an illusion that we try to plan things and we try to think logically through situations of how life is supposed to be or how we should deal with situations, because we can't. We only have right now. We only have right now to be the best version of ourselves and to make sure that we are as clear in our energy and as aligned as we can be. Because when we are that, we're present. Then we can relax. Then jealousy disappears. Stress disappears. Everything disappears, and we can just be present with whatever is. And then we can look at what is in front of us. We can look at the opportunities, and we can look at the work that we need to step into to develop and to learn more and to have deeper connections and to give more back to other people, to give more back to nature, to give more back to everything. But we can't do that if we're busy in our head trying to plan things. Or we can't do that if we're busy in our head regretting things or shaming ourselves or being hard on ourselves. Then we're removing ourselves from life. So I hope that this podcast episode and my story sharing has been inspiring for you, and that you can see or feel some areas where you also know that you are connected and you're here for more, that there's so much more for you as well. And when we have the faith, when we have the right people around us, when we have small steps every day, small decisions every day, where we are good to ourselves, where we back ourselves up, where we are treating ourselves right, when we give ourselves love and care, then we can walk into our wisdom. Then we can walk into a present life where we are able to love and see what's in front of us and truly appreciate what we're given.